Hello everyone, my name is Paula Ferdea Tenorio Pinta, and together with my group mates, we're going to discuss the lesson 18, which is a traditional assessment. The objective is develop the traditional assessment tools. Assessment has specific purpose, namely to monitor students' progress, to gather data for instructional discussion, to evaluate students' achievements and performance, and to evaluate the program.
For the teacher, it is feedback on their learning. For the teachers, it is feedback on their teaching. For the curriculum designers, it is feedback on their curriculum. And for the administrators, it is feedback on the use of the resources.
For so long, the most widely used measure to describe learning's achievement and performance is traditional assessment. Traditional assessment.
In administering a traditional assessment, the learners are given the exact procedures of administering and scoring. It is also described as a single occasion measured and dimensional time exercise, which usually is multiple choice or short answer form.
Traditional assessment measure are the most widely used measure of students' learning, a measure of success in educational goals. It is still considered relevant and acknowledged to evaluate assessment measures.
There are many on the use of traditional assessment tools. Include is that tools focuses upon narrowly focused skills, abilities, and content. The mismatch between the standardized tests and students' experience in the learning activities, as well as students' motivation to complete such as tests. Some issues are relate and apparent compassion with the authentic assessment.
The comparison put the traditional assessment in the bad light, but according to some authors, thought it has many critics and considered not sufficient assessment measures of learning and success of any program. It is still relevant and necessary in the current situation where the call of alternative assessment is highly recommended.
On a positive note, standardized test scores are used to compare a student's performance across different schools, since standardized tests control intervening factors such as variety of tasks within a test. On the other hand, standardized test scores reflects a single measures of students' attribute performance or ability but fails to generalize other settings.
At first, traditional assessment may have many critics but still have advantages. To name some, the traditional assessment measures are more objective, valid, and reliable. This is especially true for standardized tests and other types of multiple choice tests. While these advantages of traditional assessment measures are the critics to authentic assessment, especially the reliable and subjective issues.
Hi guys, I am Daniel Pliños and I'm your second reporter, and today I will be discussing about Principle of Tradition Assessment. Principle of Tradition Assessment. In deciding which assessment strategy to use, the teacher needs to consider the issue such as content, context, and audience or use of the result. It was stated by Dick Lee in 2003. There are 5 main points to consider when designing an assessment tool. The first one, we have the purpose of the assessment and whether the task fulfills that purpose. An essential starting point is to be aware of the reason why you are assessing the student and how to design an assessment that will fulfill your needs. To do this, it is important to consider the decision to consider the information you need to gather to make those decisions, and what methods are the most effective for gathering that information. The second one is the validity and reliability of the assessment that you are constructing. to ensure that the information to get out of the assessment result is as honest as possible. It is crucial to make sure that the assessment is both valid and reliable. Valid when its tests are relevant skills or ability, while it is reliable when the test gives the same result if taken repeatedly. So the third one is referencing of the assessment. To make the assessment meaningful, it is important to compare the candidate's abilities with a common measure. The other common measure for comparison are with other learners, comparison with object criteria, or comparison with the learner's own performance in other areas. The consideration of the purpose of the assessment will help the most appropriate reference frame to become clear. So the last two main point considering to design a assessment will be discussed by Ms. Romero.
The construction quality of assessment items. Quality assessment is the data collection and analysis through which the degree of conformity to predetermined standards and criteria are exemplified. Test construction knowledge and teaching material attitude are one of the factors that can be a tool to evaluate the teacher and learning process. This tool can measure the learning goals, so this should be precise and accurate as what teacher intends to measure and evaluate. For the assessment to become effective, the assessment items must be constructed to an appropriate quality. Judging the quality of an item can be completed, but as a starting point, consider the difficulty level of items. A good assessment has difficulty level of average learners.
In order to help you design a high-quality assessment, the different steps of the assessment cycle provide a strong handhold. Before you start, you should check whether your institute has a specific assessment policy, or even better, is there a vision on education and the role of assessment? The assessment policy and vision on education will definitely impact your assessment. They will provide you with a framework of principles, guidelines, and possible restrictions. With that framework in mind, you're ready to start deciding on the methods of assessment. Do you remember the concept of constructive alignment? Keep your learning goals and the learning activities close, as your assessment cannot be seen loose from those other sides of the triangle. The next step is assessment construction, actually developing the assessment tasks or questions. The results of this phase should be an assessment complete with grading scheme, answer model, and feedback plan. Of course, at a certain point, the assessment will be conducted. Beforehand, carefully consider all the conditions under which the assessment takes place. For instance, where will it take place? What are the students allowed and not allowed to use? How much time do they have? What guidance do they need? Will there be exam proctors? Is there a standard protocol that applies? Don't forget to provide the necessary instructions to everyone involved. When the assessment has been conducted, it's time for grading and feedback. Keep your grading scheme and answer model close. Remember that feedback is key for learning and for maximizing the educational effect. Your students will always welcome any feedback provided instead of a naked grade, enabling them to gain more insights in their learning process.
The grading of the assessment. The goal of grading is to evaluate individual students' learning and performance. The goal of assessment is to improve student learning. All through grading can play a role in assessment. The grading system ensures consistency and fairness in the assessment of learning. In the assignment of scores and proficiency level against the same learning standard across students, teacher assessment, learning experiences, content areas, and time. The grade of the assessment results are very concise summaries of the student abilities. They are generally designed for the purpose of the institution, hence should be clear and easily understood.
Good day everyone, my name is Patricia May Salabao and I will discuss the traditional assessment tools that can be used in class. So we have 4 traditional assessment. Ito ay ang true or false, multiple choice, the essay, and the short answer. So sa true or false, it is also referred to as alternative response questions. Ito ay ginagamit para i-assess ang abilidad ng estudyante to determine whether a statement is correct. Example, Maria Corazon Aquino is the mother of democracy in the Philippines. Students would answer true because this is a factual statement. In instructor's perspective, they are easy to create, administer, and grade. 50-50 ang magiging possibility na matama ang sagot kapag hula-hula na lang yung pag-manage mo ng magiging sagot. Kasi in true or false, we use familiarity and guessing the answer. But the student's perspective, they require very little effort and they are non-threatening due to lack of mental challenge and high chance of success. Kasi sa true or false, dalawa lang naman pagpipilian mo, either true or false, and malaki ang chance na makakakuha ka ng right answers. Para naman ma-ensure kung alam ba talaga ng students ang sagot kapag false ang given statement, gumagawa tayo ng strategy kung saan the teacher will ask the students to provide explanation or to correct the incorrect item. Multiple choice, ito yung bibigyan ka ng mga pwedeng pagpipilian pero iisa lang ang tamang sagot na pwede mong piliin. The multiple choice question consists of a stem, the correct answer, and distractors. The stem is the beginning part of the item that represents the item as a problem to be solved, a question, or an incomplete statement to be completed. The option are the possible answers you can choose from, with the correct answer called the key and the incorrect answers called distractors. And according to Bailey 1998, this type of test is commonly utilized by teachers, schools, and assessment organizations for the following reasons. So A is fast, easy, and economical to score. Machine can be used in scoring. So hindi siya time-consuming kapag nag-check ng paper for scoring. Since high-tech na rin tayo ngayon, ang multiple choice ay pwedeng gamitan ng machine to get the score. Ito rin ang kadalasang gamit ng mga schools or university sa entrance exam kung saan multiple choice lahat. Then, shade lang yung gagawin mo sa answer sheet. Just like what I experienced nung nag-take ako ng exam sa MSU. B. These measures can be scored objectively, thus give an impression of the most fair and more reliable than other forms of test. Mas reliable siya kaysa sa ibang test kasi dito talaga mas matitest ang knowledge or learning ng isang student. Mas mamimeasure mo yung kaalaman at mga natutunan nila. C. Compare with true or false. The multiple choice test reduces the chance of learner guessing the correct items. Kung ikukumpara mo kasi ang true or false sa multiple choice, ang true or false ay may 50% possibility na maging tama at 50% possibility din na mali kasi nga dalawa lang yung pagpipilian mo. While ang multiple choice is reducing the chances kasi sa multiple choice need mo talagang makuha yung exact answer sa dami ng pagpipilian. So there are many critics on the use of multiple choice test. Una na nga dito ay ang items sa multiple choice. Effective ito in terms of low level of cognitive skills kasi dito matetest yung recalling or previous memorized knowledge o yung mga napag-aralan mo. In terms naman of the items that demands higher order thinking skills, dito magagamit yung analyzing and synthesizing skills kung saan kailangan mag-isip na maigi yung student. At ito yung skills na mahirap i-produce according to Simonson 2000 and Bailey 1998. Guessing is considerable kasi lahat naman siguro naka-experience na sumagot sa multiple choice pero hindi familiar sa questions. Kaya kumakapit tayo sa gut feel or hinuhulaan na lang yung sagot. But this strategy is unknown kasi di natin masasabi na matatama ba yun or kung ano ba epekto nun and scoring, if it is helpful ba or hindi. And then scores, the test severely restricts what can be tested, difficult to write successful items, backwash may be harmful, and cheating is highly possible. So, ang multiple choice is an objective test, no? Meaning, isa lang yung possible answer at nakaset na yon. It is difficult in a way na kailangan mong mag-provide ng choices na malapit sa real answer. Let's say, madali nga siya in checking, but also malapit ito in cheating or madali mag-exist dito ang pag-cheat. So, sabi ko nga kanina, we have 4 traditional assessment tools and the remaining 2 sets will be discussed by Mariel Sabak.
Aside from true or false test and multiple choice, there are still 2 types of traditional assessment tool that can be used in class, namely the essay and short answer test. Essay. Familiar, right? Essay is an effective assessment tool because the answer is flexible and it measures higher order learning skills, written communication, and organization of ideas.
Apparently, on the side of the teacher, it is somewhat a little complicated since scoring essay output were time-consuming. You have to undergo deeper analysis and you have to sort each paper one by one. But it would be possible to lessen the complications if the teacher will create a rubrics basis for subjectivity in scoring.
Rubrics. What does rubrics mean? Rubrics is a criteria rating scale which gives the teacher a tool that allows them to track students' performances. Rubrics will be the basis of the teacher in scoring the learners.
As you can see on your screen, here is the example of rubrics.
Next is the short answer test. Here, the items are written either as direct question, requiring the learners fill in a word, phrase, or statement in which a space has been left blank for a brief written answer.
So this type of test allows teacher to see how well the learners have grasped course concepts, their meaning, and significance. It gives opportunities for learners to demonstrate higher level skills and knowledge and allows students to elaborate on their responses in a limited way. So here is the example of short answer test. In conclusion and summary of our report, traditional assessment, like most papers and pen tests that we know, are objective, valid, and reliable ways to assess learning. They are still relevant despite the presence of the contemporary authentic assessment.
I am Mariel Angela Isabak, the last reporter. Thank you for listening and have a good day.